Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.
Not a bad intro. Hey, everybody. Welcome to our global travel update for this week, the last Wednesday of June, 2025. As you saw in the introduction, we're coming to you from a legendary place, Adair Manor here in County Limerick in Ireland. 840 acres of the greenest green land you'll ever see. Also home to the 2027 Ryder Cup next year. And it goes back to 1832. Why am I here? No, I'm not lounging in the spa. Why I'm here is because this is a stop on an amazing journey that we'll be reporting on as part of our radio show, actually starting tomorrow. They've recreated the original Pan Am Flight 1 and Pan Am Flight 2, the Atlantic and the Pacific routes of that legendary airline, which left us sadly back in 1991. And they're literally flying a Pan Am livery flight with everybody wearing their Pan Am uniforms as well, essentially halfway around the world and back. And we're part of that to talk about the history of the airline and what they're trying to do. So that's what brings me to Adair Manor. I'm a lucky guy because people always ask me, what are my favorite places in the world? And my metric for that is where I sleep the best. And boy, the air here, you will sleep the best. It is that good. But I've been sleepless lately because there's so much news to talk about, so let's get into it. Obviously, right now, the situation is continuing to be fluid and in the Middle East, but in areas all around the Middle East. And to give you an idea of what the airspace looks like right now, look at this. You see that big wide open area? That's where nobody's flying over. Either the airspace is closed or it's deemed too dangerous. And while the airspace is starting to open up, because of the ceasefire that was announced, it's opening up very slowly. And a lot of airlines have continued to cancel their flights to the region, going as far as Doha and other Emirates. And of course, everything over Iran. The Ukraine, of course, has been closed for a while. So, or I should say Ukraine has been closed for a while. So we'll be monitoring that. But that'll give you an idea of Flight Radar 24, what their grid looks like on any given day these days, since the bombing of the nuclear facilities in Iran. Obviously, we're on top of that. Other news, of course, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board finally issued their findings on the probable cause of the accident involving Alaska Airlines Flight 1282. You may remember that goes back to January of 24. So nearly a year and a half later, we have those findings and the probable cause. That was the plane flying over Portland, where the door blew out of the Alaskan Airlines 737. The NTSB came up with 19 different safety recommendations, but most important, they nailed Boeing and the FAA for all the reasons we've been talking about for the last 2 or 3 years, at least on Global Travel Update. I've been talking about it for longer than that. The NTSB criticized the manufacturing process at Boeing, the internal operating procedures at Boeing, not to mention pathetic or non-existent oversight of the manufacturing process at Boeing, which leads directly to, guess what? The FAA. And obviously, lessons learned here. Now we have to see if there will be lessons applied. That full report will be available probably in the next 24 hours. We'll get it. We'll talk to you about it next week. But bottom line is, that's the conclusion, at least, of the NTSB recommendations. Remember, their investigation can only make recommendations. There's the problem. They're not a regulatory agency. Those recommendations go to the one agency that's responsible for this in so many ways, the FAA. Let's see how they act. Remember, the FAA has a problem. They continue to put a price tag on safety, which is the wrong thing to do at any time. If there's a problem, and there's a solution, and you can implement the solution. You either do it or stop flying. It's as simple and as direct as that. Anyway, we'll be following that final report for you, just letting you know it came out yesterday in terms of their recommendations. What's continuing, of course, is the investigation into the terrible crash of the Air India 787 back on June 12th. That was 13 days ago. It's still too soon to tell you what happened. We can certainly tell you what didn't happen based on the recovery of the black boxes, meaning the cockpit voice recorder and the flight data recorder. Somewhat troubling for investigators is very much like perhaps for different reasons, like that terrible crash in Korea where the plane landed bellied up and then ended up in that barrier and everybody died. The interesting thing about both incidents involving both Boeing planes, different models, of course, one was the 737, this is the 787, is that electrical power cut off before the actual crash. The electrical power on the 737 crash in Korea cut off 4 minutes before that plane skidded on the runway. And in the 787 crash, it cut off seconds before, which is leading investigators to look at the entire electrical system of the 787 and the problems that happened on that particular plane, which developed into no thrust on the engines, and that stall, which eventually, within seconds, created the terrible disaster. So we're still working on that. Too soon to talk about it, but they're getting close, simply because they've been able to rule a lot of things out as they're starting to rule some things in. Okay, moving right along, lots of other things to talk about. For those people who watch us on YouTube or Amazon or Apple TV Plus on our series called Hidden, Hidden Louisiana is on the air right now. Let's go to this photograph and I'll explain it. That's me with Coach Johnson from the LSU Tigers. Happy to report they're in our show. They actually let me do batting practice with them. I'm not the reason why they won the College World Series, the NCAA championship, Division I. They just won it for 2025. So congratulations to the Tigers. And then a sort of a sad story I want to share with you. I'm going to show you this video, and as it's running, I'll explain the history of this particular cruise ship. Became. It's an amazing story. But this week, the ship's history is coming to an end. It was bought by scrappers. It's going to be towed to Belgium, I believe, or somewhere in that area, and then it's going to be basically dismantled. 77 years of cruising. If you want to see more of it and see our show that we did, Anthony's going to give you a link right now. You can see it. It's a remarkable story of naval history, and you can't make these stories up. But the oldest cruise ship's still floating. It's still floating, but it will no longer be operating as a cruise ship for much longer. It's going to be scrapped. Wanted to share that with you. Of course, we've talked about this before. All the over-tourism protests that are happening for different reasons. In Venice this week, of course, it's not just over-tourism. It's Jeff Bezos' wedding. He's bought out Venice. And when I say he's bought out Venice, you can't get a hotel room, you can't get a taxi, you can't get a reservation at a restaurant. The folks there are not very And if the problems continue with protesters firing water pistols at visiting tourists and yelling for them to go home, we'll be covering that throughout this year because it's happening in a number of different locations as the summer travel months heat up in places like Athens and Amsterdam and other locations. Talked about that. But most importantly, I always tell you this, it's not about over-tourism, it's about common sense travel. You're not going to see me going to Italy in June, July, or August. You're not going to see me going to Barcelona in June or July or August. You may remember last year, what did we do? We sailed into Barcelona on a Windstar ship in December, in the middle of winter. We were the only ship in the harbor. Nobody was squirting anything at us. There were no lines to go anywhere, no crowds. We had a great time. The weather was wonderful. It's about being a contrarian traveler and embracing what we used to call the off-season. In any case, those protests are heating up just as the temperature is heating up. Okay, now, one other little note before we get to your questions and say hi to everybody. So many of you have been writing in on our email, peter@petergreenberg.com, asking about your fears about leaving the country and not being allowed to come back in based on Trump immigration policies or deportation, being asked to show your phone, which, by the way, customs and immigration officers have the right to do before they allow you to enter the United States. Remember, until you clear customs, your rights are rather diminished. Here's the story of a Norwegian tourist who showed up to the United States and they asked to see his phone. And he didn't want to show it. He was then told if he didn't show the phone, he'd be fined $5,000 and sent back to Norway. So he showed them the phone, and what was in his phone? He had a little of a meme picture of Vice President Vance. Show the picture. You got to laugh. Funny, right? Sense of humor. He was thrown out, turned around and sent back to Norway for that. Listen, I'm not going to get into a political discussion here, but I would like to remind everybody about, freedom of speech. He wasn't lobbying for the overthrow of the United States government or the assassination of any political leader. I mean, quite frankly, how many of you have funny photos on your phone? No matter what your politics are, right? You should have the right to continue to have those photos, and it should not impede your travel opportunities. And we need to talk about this in the days and weeks ahead. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. You can get rid of the vice president now, at least that photo. Thank you, Anthony. Okay, one more thing. Let's go back and say hi to people, everybody. Okay, Linda's saying hello from Naples. Jim and Harriet, they're okay. Patrick Cooney is saying, okay. Camilla's saying hello from Tucson. Sue's saying hi from Bellingham, Washington. Matthew is saying Syracuse. There's Jim and Harriet. Okay, from Richmond, Virginia. Steamy. Oh, yeah. We flew here this morning from New York last night. It was steamy. Not steamy here. Here it's beautiful. New York, a little hot. Okay. Colina in Hawaii. We know that place. Robin saying hi from Williamsburg. Lindy's saying Ventura. Lindy, it's always foggy in Ventura in the morning. You know that. It's the June gloom or the marine layer. All right. Colleen's saying, I received a notice that, oh, yeah, here we go. I received a notice that the Grand Egyptian Museum's grand opening is set for July 3rd. Is that still a go, or is it just another tease? Okay. The museum has been partially open for well over a year and a half. President Sisi was trying to do a really big, grand extravaganza opening, inviting all the world leaders. Doing it as the biggest royal tour ever. But of course, Gaza showed up. The Middle East showed up. Tension showed up. And all that was put on hold. The museum then opened partially, a soft opening, if you will. It is still a soft opening. Yes, they're going to fully open in about 2 weeks, but there'll be no pomp and circumstance yet, which means there will be, my guess it'll be November. But if you want to go, which I think is what you wanted to do, you just didn't want to go to a party yet. You want to go to the museum? You can go. All right. Willie wants to know how I'm liking Ireland. I will be there with my family the first time, later in July. All right, I have an admission to make, and I'm not just saying this because I'm in Ireland. I've been coming to Ireland since 1978. I am not a believer in reincarnation. I don't believe in all that stuff. However, every time I come to Ireland, I actually believe I lived here in a previous life. That's the impact this place has on me. It's magical. So, Willie, get ready. You're going to have a great time. Okay, let's keep going here. All right. Randy is in from Northport, Michigan, on the beautiful shores of Lake Michigan. We will be on a cruise around Ireland later this year. All right. I'm already jealous. Okay. Conchetta says, hello from Brooklyn. I just returned from 70 days in Sicily, visiting family. The direct flight Delta from JFK was great. Yep, we're living in the nonstop world now of secondary and tertiary cities as airlines like Delta and United are adding a lot of routes. United just inaugurated last week their nonstop flight from Newark to Greenland to Nook. Perfect time of the year, by the way. All right. Wendy saying hi from steamy hot Chicago. We were there last week. Jeff saying hello from Santa Monica, from cool Santa Monica. All right. Selena saying, is Northern Italy worth visiting, or should we go back to the Amalfi Coast again? We'll be there in October. In October, you can go anywhere in Italy. That's the beauty of it. You're off season. But no, I'd check out Northern Italy. It's definitely worth it. I mean, the Amalfi Coast is spectacular, right? But check out Northern Italy. And by the way, for those folks, speaking of Northern, they don't get enough credit. I love Northern Spain, not just Northeastern Spain. Most of you know about San Sebastian and Valencia, the Guggenheim Museum, etc. Do Northwestern Spain, the Galicia area, places like La Coruña. You'll never have better seafood, and it's not that crowded. Okay. Hello from Ethiopia. Wow. Okay. From Addis. That's, I'm trying to pronounce the name here. Aligan, I think. Patty's saying Ireland is wonderful. No kidding. Lindy's saying go Tigers. That's right. Hubby's from Lake Charles with deep roots at LSU. All right, go Tigers. Terry saying hello from Battle Creek. And there you have it. Now, lots of other stuff to talk about. And that is, so many of you have been writing in angry about, the blowing up of the culture at Southwest Airlines and, charging for bags. Let me tell you another reason why they're charging for bags and why their investor group was so keen on throwing the old days out and generating revenue. In 2024, how much did passengers pay just for bag fees in the United States? Anyone want to guess? Whatever guess you're going to come with is going to be low. $7 billion. $7 billion. Wow. Pretty crazy. All right. Now, a couple of pieces of good news. Would you like some? All right. The uncertainty in the world, the bombing of Iran, the already downturn of foreign travelers to the U.S. for other reasons we've discussed, and a lot of Americans thinking, well, you know what? I may stay home this summer or travel within the U.S. Well, there's been another impact just based on what's going on in the Middle East. A lot of Americans basically, maybe I won't travel at all, or I may not travel very far from home. We're seeing now some sales that we never thought were going to happen at this time of the year in the cruise industry. Norwegian just announced a sale with up to $1,500 off on cruises, and they're throwing in all sorts of extras. Kids sail free. This is one that could get dangerous. Unlimited open bar. You're on your own. And free Wi-Fi. So check that out. You're going to see some other cruise lines matching that. And an interesting development, one of our big pet peeves, the dreaded draconian hotel resort fees. You won't find that any more prevalent than you'll find in Las Vegas, where every hotel tries to get away with it. And they claim it's mandatory, which, by the way, it's not if you negotiate it. But an interesting development with numbers dropping in Vegas, Resorts World has now announced for this summer, they're waiving all the resort fees. So they're looking for people to fill rooms. Let's see if the other hotels follow suit. And let's hope they keep it that way. You remember during the pandemic when United Airlines announced no more draconian ticket change fees, and then all the other airlines followed suit, and that's still the case today. So if you cancel your flight, you receive a credit and you don't lose anything. Let's hope this Resorts World thing is a trend that we can do and that we can follow. Okay, let's keep going here. Hold on a second. I'm scrolling down. Katrina saying hello from Alabama. By the way, Katrina, later this year, we premiere our latest in our Hidden series, Hidden Alabama. And one of our tour guides is Martin Luther King III. I hope you get a chance to watch that. Hidden Louisiana's on the air now. Hidden Mississippi's on the air now. And hope you get a chance to watch those. All right. He was saying hello from chilly Buenos Aires. And Dennis is saying, greetings from the Bay Area. Ireland is definitely on our list. I couldn't agree more. And Jonathan, our good friend, the photographer, says, Athens, was beautiful. No squirt guns. No, not yet. But remember last summer in Athens, Jonathan, 30,000 people a day in 100-degree weather trying to climb up to the Acropolis. I mean, that wasn't just an over-tourism issue. That was a medical issue. And so now the Greek government's trying to limit that this year to 20,000 a day. Is that really making a difference? I don't think so. September and October, I keep telling you guys, that's when you want to go. Okay. Now, I know what we got to do. Some more things I want to tell you about. I've got some other questions that you sent in. Let me get to those first, and then we'll go to some other stuff. Okay. Joy says, what's the best floor to be on a cruise ship? Well, here's my philosophy. How much time do you spend in your cabin on a cruise ship other than to shower and sleep? Not much. Now, the cruise ship brochures will have you think that you're entertaining the entire state of Rhode Island in your cabin. You are not. Everybody says they want a balcony. Have you seen the size of those balconies? You need an industrial strength spatula to get in or out. They even have wide angle photographs of people having breakfast on their balcony. Yeah, one tiny sausage and you're like this. Guys, forget the balcony. Forget the upper floor cabins. Why? I'll tell you why. Here's the ship. The higher you go, you are what? You are rolling and pitching. The higher you are, you're whipping around the room. If you're looking for a small, a calmer cabin, it's lower inside, middle cabin. Center of gravity, folks. You will not be disappointed. And if you want to go out and see the ocean and see all the other things you're going to be seeing, it's a very simple solution. Open the door. You're only in there to shower and sleep. You know it. I know it. And the cruise lines know it, but they market it differently. Okay? Okay. Lena says, going to Mexico City in October. Any idea when will be the best time to book the airline tickets? Right. August. You want to go about 54 days out. Okay. You didn't tell me when in October, but as a general rule, about 54 days out. And this year, especially because of what's going on in the world, all the algorithms that the airlines use to project demand and set prices, they're being thrown out. They're not accurate anymore. They're not holding up. None of the loads from last year are sustainable the way they think they're going to be this year, just because people are making different decisions. So, but the 54-day rule tends to work. Okay. Okay. And Evelyn says, what's my opinion regarding not purchasing a seat on the plane? Well, here's what I do. First of all, you want to look at the seating chart, right? Every airline wants to upsell you the seat, right? I mean, all you're buying is the ticket. Then you got to figure out if you're going to be buying and upselling the seat. Well, in most cases, what does an airline do to determine the value of an upsold seat? The one that's closer to the front of the plane. That means a middle seat is going to cost you more. I'm not paying for that. Number one. Number two, if you see at least 20% of the seats available at the time you're booking, right? Don't book the seat right away. And just keep on checking every 3 days until you get about 4 days out. If all of a sudden it starts to shrink and you still want that window seat, pay the difference. But for me, I don't think I've ever bought a seat. We're talking coach seats where I've done the upsell. I mean, there are some airlines that Their idea of a more expensive coach seat is that you're closer to the chocolate chip cookies that they're serving in first class that you're still not going to get. So I'm not a big fan of it. Now, if you're booking an 11-hour flight and you want that window seat, do it in the back of the plane. You may not have to buy the ticket or buy the seat, but anything in the middle doesn't matter. And like another thing is, if you're on a long haul flight, right, 9 hours or more, there's a reasonably good chance you're checking bags. So why would you want to run off the plane first anyway? Let everybody get out. You leave. By the time you get to baggage claim, your bag will actually be there, as opposed to waiting 40 minutes for the bag to show up. Okay, now let's go to the photo of the week. I love this one. Where is it, folks? You know where it is. It's Budapest. And congratulations to Matthew Richard. He writes, my family and I enjoyed a wonderful evening cruise on the Danube River in Budapest. By the way, even though it's at night, we all know the Danube is not blue. It's still beautiful. My daughter took the photograph of the Hungarian Parliament building, which, by the way, they've been lighting up for years. It's fabulous. We later participated in a tour of the building, which is just as majestic. It has been the largest building in Hungary since its completion in 1904. Thank you, Matthew, for that. We really appreciate that. And if you think you've got a photograph that qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Photo contest at petergreenberg.com with your name and all the information of the story behind the photo. And if we think it's worthwhile, it's going to go right up there next to Matthew's. One other housekeeping note, Lunch with Peter, bidding is still open. It's going to happen. The bidding will be open until July 10th. It's starting at $2,500. None of that money goes to me. It's going to a very worthy cause, Operation USA. You can check out all the work they're doing and have done at opusa.org. That's their website. But what is Lunch with Me? It's going to be somewhere in the U.S., wherever we're doing a radio show or one of our television shows. We'll fly you in. We'll put you up. And yes, I'm buying lunch. And hope you'll do that because it benefits such a worthy cause. Again, the bidding is starting at $2,500. None of that goes to me. It goes directly to Operation USA. Check out what they're doing. You don't have to bid for the lunch, but you can certainly donate to them as well. opusa.org. I hope you will do that. And of course, a little bit of housekeeping note as well. Our radio show this week, it comes from a wonderful hotel. It was opened as a Lowe's hotel in Santa Monica. It's now been reopened as a spectacular hotel. The Regent in Santa Monica, California, will be coming from there this Saturday between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern time. If you can't find the station in your market, no problem. It's streamed live starting at 10:05 a.m. Eastern. Just go to our website, petergreenberg.com, log on, and you will see that show. No, you won't see it. It's radio. Sorry about that. But you'll hear it. Lots of fun things to talk about, obviously, and updates as well on everything we talked about today in terms of what's going on in Iran, the Middle East, airfares, and the Air India investigation. And updates, of course, even on Alaska Air and what they've been able to determine, not just the probable cause, that part they got, but what absolutely needs to be done, because it wasn't just an isolated incident. That's the most important takeaway, by the way, from the hearing yesterday in Washington, where the chairman of the NTSB said, this is not an isolated incident. It's a multiple system malfunction. And what happens when you have a system malfunction? It starts with management malfunction, an oversight malfunction, an inspection malfunction. And there you go, Boeing and the FAA. So we'll let you know about that. Let's scroll down real fast. By the way, Anthony has posted information here in the chat area about how you can bid for the lunch. I hope you will. Okay, Red's watching from sunny Omaha. Speaking of frequent flyer miles, I feel like airlines are fast becoming credit card pushers. Fast becoming? The airlines are flying banks right now. The airlines are being completely funded by credit card companies. In fact, if they didn't get that income from the credit card companies that buy the miles that they then say you're going to earn every time you spend money, the airlines would be out of business. Think I'm exaggerating? Every year, American, United, and Delta with American Express, United with Chase, American with Citibank, Southwest, by the way, with Chase as well, are paid upwards of $10 billion each to sell those credit card companies miles that they then give to you, which you then can't redeem. What a concept, with credit cards with interest rates averaging 27%. So if you think the airlines are fast becoming credit card pushers, you're wrong. They're fast becoming credit cards. When was the last time you got on a plane where the flight attendants weren't pushing credit cards, right? And by the way, I've read the script that they read. By the way, the flight attendants get commissioned if you fill out the form and send in for a card, right? Everybody's being incentivized to get you to get that card. Now, I'll give you one. American Airlines and the Barclay card. I've listened to that speech. I've read the speech. What they're saying is, if you sign up for that card, even if you spend only $1 the minute you get the card, you're going to get 60,000 bonus miles. And this is from the script. Good for 2 tickets anywhere they fly. Complete lie. That's number one. Also, they promote a companion ticket for free. You get 1 per year on that deal. Let's talk about the numbers there. The companion ticket is going to cost you about $100 in processing fees. You still have to pay the taxes on the ticket, and it's so heavily restricted that you just go out and buy a ticket for less in many cases. So they're just completely lying to you, and yet you love it because you guys want to chase miles. You want to get miles for everything short of breathing, which gets back to credit card purchases, right? 57% of all airline miles earned are earned on the ground. That's the credit card purchases. And the credit card companies love it. The banks love it because the average interest rate's 27% revolving, and only 52% of Americans pay their bills in full every month. So just on revolving credit profits alone, if I loaned you guys money at 27% interest, I would go to prison. But the banking lobby was very successful in getting an exemption, and they can actually charge up to 30%, some of them do, on credit card interest. Yikes. The most expensive ticket you can ever get these days, assuming they even give you that, is a frequent flyer reward ticket. When you consider if you're one of the 48% that doesn't pay their bills in full every month, how much money did you spend in interest to chase the miles that you didn't get at a redemption level that's astronomical to begin with? And by the time you finally get it, you probably spent $8,000 in interest for a ticket that might retail for $800. You tell me what that works out to be. I failed math in high school, but I can do basic adding and subtracting. Yikes. Okay. Okay. Oh, I see. Let's see. Oscar saying, forgot to add going in mid-October and enjoy your shows at the Los Angeles Travel Show every year. Thank you, Oscar. And I'll see you next year. Although next year, the Travel and Adventure Show, I think, is coming from Long Beach, but I'll be there. Okay. I think we got through all the questions, which is great because I get to go out and breathe the air here at Adair Manor. I mean, how spectacular it is. I could not begin to even describe it to you. And I'm only going to be here another 24 hours before we hop on that Pan Am flight on the last leg to get back to New York. But listen to the radio show in the next couple of weeks because we'll be doing it on that flight and the history of the route and the interesting people who were on this flight who were celebrating their own special history with the airline. Sad to say that even though Pan Am they went out of business in 1991, the brand has been bought, the intellectual property has been bought, and there's a hope that Pan Am may come back as a scheduled carrier again. I would love to see that. I think many of us would. Again, radio show this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., coming to you from the Regent Hotel in Santa Monica, California. I'm leaving from Ireland to go back to New York. We'll see you next week from another location somewhere around the world. Again, updates on the investigation of Air India, what's going to be happening in the wake of the Alaska Airlines door blowout and the NTSB report, and of course, the continuing situation in the Middle East and in the Near East, and what that means to your travels as airspace starts to open up. We'll see how long that happens. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Anthony, thank you for doing everything back in California today. And, of course, it's only, 5:35 in the afternoon here, which means it's still light out, and it'll be light out here tonight till around 11 o'clock at night. We love that. So here's to summer. I'll see you next week.
Peter Greenberg's live global travel update is presented to you by Air Canada, connecting the world with more than 1,000 daily flights to 180 destinations and 6 continents.